Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question. Is behind the neck military press with the barbell bad for your shoulders even if it feels fine? That's a pretty complicated topic. Behind the neck presses are considered to be a counter-indicated exercise. However, when you look at the data and everything else going on with them, it's very much a superior exercise. However, a couple caveats there. What I would suggest to you is that, in all honesty, there are other exercises you can do that will work all of those muscles just as effective, if not more effectively. Like mainly doing the front press correctly, where you lay back and then you drive your head forward at the top, actually makes the front press a really amazing exercise. And you can always add in a little bit of extra work if you want to get the side and rear delts a little more, which is what that behind the neck press is good at. You need to remember it is considered to be a counter-indicated exercise. That means for a lot of people, it can contribute to injury, and a lot of it has to do with things like elbow position, flaring, everything else going on with it. But some people can do it safely. It really depends upon your individual structure. There are plenty of very serious athletes who do even heavy behind the neck push presses. I know guys personally who I've met, some lifters who do push presses behind the neck standing, like 300 plus pounds. They have zero shoulder problems. However, these are guys who are in fantastic shape, fantastic mobility, enormous strength bases, probably genetically gifted in terms of things like their connective tissue. It may not be safe for everyone. So I would say think about it, but proceed with caution. Proceed with caution. And I personally do not program it. Even though I think it's a great exercise, I don't think it's really safe for everyone. And so accordingly, I don't program it. I don't even do it anymore myself, even though I used to do it. Just because, again, as I'm older, I'm a middle-aged lifter, I'm a master's lifter, I don't even personally want to take the risk. So, I mean, that's really up to you. And I don't want to bash the exercise because it has a lot of potential, but by that same token, I don't know that I really want to endorse it either because it is counterindicated. And for a pretty large segment of the population, it can be a dangerous exercise. All right, next question. Thoughts on the mass unsubscribe event happening to Jason Genova's channel? For those unaware, it's a bunch of people who decided they're going to have thousands of people unsubscribe on his birthday just to troll him and to have fun with him and make fun of him. You know, here's my take on this, guys. Look, I like trolling and I like the mints as much as anyone else. I've done more than my share of online trolling. I've done a lot of trolling on my channels that people don't even realize is trolling, all right? And that's fine. But, you know, there's a point where trolling can go too far, and that's stuff where I've even realized it. And I don't know, man, picking on a mentally handicapped person or deciding to troll a mentally handicapped person, I think that's ridiculous. I would question the mental capacity of people who even obsess over Genova. Like, if you actually really think about Jason Genova on a daily basis, or you obsess over him, or you obsess over his sayings and stuff, you're probably mentally handicapped yourself. It might be time to step back and relook at yourself in the mirror and think about these things, right? If people are really going to be that obsessed over a person like Genova to the point where they need to troll him or they want to quote him all day long and think it's funny all over the internet, you're probably handicapped yourself. And if you're not, it might be time to step back and reassess your life at that point. Just going to throw that out there. And I'm saying that as someone who's done their own share of trolling online and has had to reassess their own life. All right, I'm speaking as a voice of experience there. I've done pretty stupid stuff on the internet at times. I'm not going to lie, I have. Again, that's not being hypocritical, that's admitting it. That's saying, hey, you know, I've done some stupid shit on the internet. And you know what? Completely unproductive oftentimes. I don't feel any better for having done it, and oftentimes it's made things worse. Quit worrying about silly shit like trolling Jason Genova. Seriously, get a life. All right, next question. Hey coach, regarding your new Ice Cream Fitness Novice Program 2.0, if the lifter was strong enough to do chin-ups / pull-ups and wanted to incorporate them, where in the program would you put them and for how many sets and reps? I wouldn't. I wrote this program for people who can't handle the original. All right, the original has tons of extra volume, but a smaller segment of the population can run it. People start plateauing eventually. You don't need them in this program, and here's what I would say. I'm not saying you don't need to get strong on pull-ups or chin-ups. I'm not saying that at all. It's in kind of my 6 basic movement patterns, right? And it's in my big 5. However, like with anything else, you don't actually have to train that movement all the time to get good at it. If you get really strong at your rows and you get really strong at your cheat curls, your pull-ups will go up. As soon as you start doing pull-ups again, let's say you run this program for 6 months or 9 months or whatever, and you go back to doing pull-ups and chin-ups, you're already going to have the base to do them and you're going to progress at them just fine. You're going to have no problems with that. But by that same token, I think that you need to be focusing more on these rows on your non-deadlift days to help build your deadlift. All right, they're going to build your deadlift. Your back is going to develop just fine. All of the movements in this program really do work your back. And that's a point that people forget. Building your back is really the easiest thing to do. It's people's lack of using the fundamental exercises. The only reason anyone ends up with a lagging lats. It really is. Because even your overhead pressing to some extent works your lats. Your deadlift works your lats. All of these exercises have a cumulative effect. Doing a large volumes of squatting helps build your lats. You have a cumulative effect here. And people need to realize that. For building a base, quite frankly, I could write a program with no lat work, and people would still build big lats with no conventional direct lat work, because all these big exercises do that. Like I could literally replace those rows with power cleans, and there would be guys who build big lats off this program. It wouldn't be maximized, and that's the reason we have rows and stuff in there to make sure that we're getting them. But, you know, right now I'd rather have the novice focus on rows. That's something I've said in the past, and I'm sticking to my guns on that. I think the novice should focus more on rows. I think as you get closer to being an intermediate, that's where I think really messing with pull-ups and chin-ups a lot more starts to benefit you. And then because, again, you've built a base on this other stuff, you can probably no longer have to do the same sets across on the deadlift. Your training volumes adjust, and you can balance it better. I feel like at this point, this program does fine without chin-ups and pull-ups. I wrote it with that intent in mind, and there's no need to add them in there. There's no need. I don't think there's any need at all. Run the program as I've written it. Unless you have a higher work capacity, in which case, hey, maybe look at me doing this GPP in the background. Maybe add some GPP days. All right? All right, next question. Hey, Jason, there are always personal trainers at my gym teaching the chest flies, almost as a staple in your chest routine. Don't they put your chest and shoulders in a dangerous position? Thanks, coach. I'm going to say that's very subjective. I'm going to say it depends on the person's training history. It's going to depend on what injuries and everything they've had. And here's my problem with that. Like with anything else, a lot of these smaller movements, I think they cause connective tissue inflammation when overused. I would much rather someone use a bigger exercise. I'm not going to say that flies are completely useless, because I don't think there's any exercise. There's probably no exercise or movement pattern that's completely useless, right? We don't need to be that dogmatic. But by that same token, why are people doing flies? Because they want a bigger chest. How rare is the individual out there who needs to add a large amount of muscle to their chest, but their triceps are too big? Like, how common is that? Do you ever see anyone who says, my arms are just too damn big? My arms are too damn big and I need my chest to grow. No. Almost everybody who wants a bigger chest could at least benefit from bigger triceps from an aesthetic perspective, a performance perspective. Like, can your triceps ever be too big or too strong for pushing or punching or even bench pressing? Right? Can your triceps really be too big or too strong? I don't think that they can. I don't think that they can. Like, I've just never met this person, and they could hypothetically exist. But given the fact that, why is it that we do smaller movements? We do smaller movements because our total recovery can't handle big movements anymore, or because we have an imbalance that we need to fix. Again, the individual might exist who, has those 20-inch massive arms and enormous triceps and no chest, and therefore they need to do these flies. But if guys really have a lagging chest, it might be time to reassess the way that they're doing all their pressing exercises. Are they pause benching, or are they bouncing off their chest? Maybe they could throw in some weighted dips to get a stretch reflex. Are they coming all the way down and laying back a little bit on their standing press? Like, what's going on? What's going on with their lifting to where their chest is lagging? I think these are things that need to be addressed first before we go to these silly movements. And again, you're talking about when we start doing these unnatural movement patterns with a lot of the machines and the smaller exercises, single joint exercises, they can overtax connective tissue in its own way if you're not careful. I'm not saying they're useless, but I think they need to be used sparingly. And flies are certainly not a staple exercise. They're a weak point training exercise for people who have a specific weak point. And I just can't view them as anything else. They're certainly not a staple exercise. And I don't know why these trainers are having people do it. Teach them how to bench press, teach them how to overhead press, teach them how to do weighted dips. I promise you, if you're hiring a personal trainer, you're nowhere near your drug-free genetic size limit. Right? You're nowhere near that. You don't need specialized advanced training. So yeah, they need to drop this silly shit out. And I'm sure there's going to be some skinny, weak pieces of shit who are going to make responses and say, well, Jason Blaha, he's wrong and it's a great exercise. Okay, bro, either you're probably blasting tons of drugs or you are tiny and weak if you're going to talk about how amazing the chest fly is. That's just reality. They're a selectively useful exercise in a context-dependent situation. They're not a basic exercise, and not everyone needs to be doing them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.